Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Rafi Chess. Today we're going to be reviewing a game from a viewer. If you want to suggest your own games, you can join the Discord server. The link for it will be in the description. So the game starts with d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6, and bishop c4. This is known as the queen's pawn opening, the Chigorin variation. Then black plays knight c6. We have knight b5, and white is threatening to capture on the c6 pawn because he's got two defenders. He's got two attackers on that pawn, and black only has one defender. e5 is played, which blocks the vision of the bishop to the pawn. D takes e5, and then knight takes on e5, and as you can see, the evaluation bar shoots up because that is simply a free knight, so white captures. Then we have bishop d6, which protects the c7 pawn. White captures the pawn, black captures back, and we see e3. This defends the knight and helps white develop their pieces. So black castles, we see knight f3, rook e8, which lines up the rook against white's king. Then we have bishop d3, bishop g4, which pins this knight to the queen. So this knight can't move anywhere, or else the black would capture their queen. So then we have castles, and bishop takes the knight on f3. If I was black, I probably would have chose to keep the pin, just because it puts a bit more pressure on white. But white captures back. Then we see queen b6, and this attacks their knight, and it could possibly win a pawn, because if the knight moves back, the queen could capture on b2. But we see c4 is played, so this protects the knight. And now black plays queen d4, which is a crazy move because it just hangs a queen in two different ways. White can either do pawn takes on d4 or knight takes on d4. So we see knight takes d4, and then black now captures the c pawn. White captures back, and then d5 is played. This attacks the bishop, although white can simply capture the pawn because it only has the knight defending it. You know, if you put the rook behind it, then sure, the bishop will have to move, but black has the queen and the bishop attacking it, so they just capture. Then the knight captures back and the queen captures, so white just won another pawn. They won a piece, a queen and a pawn, so they're up 13 points of material by move 17. And they win another pawn, the b7 pawn. Black chooses to attack their queen and skewers back their own b pawn, so white captures and they capture the b pawn. We see rook a b1 because white is up material, so they want to try trade down the pieces. That way they can find checkmate easier. So rook captures rook, and then rook captures. Now we see rook c8, potentially threatening to checkmate white if they're not careful, because if white plays something like b7 trying to win their pawns, then black can simply play rook c1, and this would be checkmate because the king doesn't have any breathing space, which is why it's very important sometimes to take a moment to play g3 or f3 or h3, just so that your king has a bit more space to move. But white does rook b8, and this is a really good move because black isn't able to play rook c1 even though the rook has left the first rank. That's because it's pinned against their own king. So theoretically, if this rook moved down to c1, then white would just be able to capture their king. Obviously, that's not possible, so black simply can't move the rook down. So they move it back instead. White chooses to capture, king captures, and they bring their knight into the game now, which is the final piece. We see g6 is played, queen e7, king g8, and queen e8 is checkmate. So yeah, very solid game. White played quite well overall, although I will have to admit that because black gave up so many pieces early on in the game, it was quite it wasn't very challenging for them. But yeah, shout out to hadzyc_1 for the game. If you guys like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. It would help the channel a lot and I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Stay sharp, stay focused, and never stop learning.